Teachers of Reddit, what's the most cringeworthy thing a student has said in class? He's not my biological boyfriend. What does that even mean? Means she has a mechanical boyfriend. I teach math at college. One semester I'm teaching a bridge course, where students who have previously done poorly in math are given the opportunity to prove their potential the summer before they will begin proper classes. Basically, if they fail the bridge course, they don't get accepted to college. One student is particularly defiant to the idea of this class. She fails to turn in homework, even when directly asked, and offers no excuse or reason. Eventually I directly tell her that she will surely fail the class at her current rate. She gets defensive and claims, "I'm a criminal justice major. I'm going to be a police officer. I don't need math. All I need to do is point and shoot." Needless to say, she failed. Math saved a lot of people's lives that day. Discussing I know why the cage bird sings, specifically Maya's lack of adult experience. One boy, 11th grade, piped up and shared a piece of deep character analysis. Well, she doesn't even know what it's like to have her salad tossed. I saw my career flash before my eyes. Halfway through Animal Farm a student says, "Wait a minute, this book has talking animals in it?" No, the French emperor decided to become communist in a barn. My friend's dad was teaching a health class to middle schoolers, and one kid tried being a smart butt and said, "Mr. Henderson, have you ever had a physical relationship without using a condom?" Friend's dad replied, "Yes, I have 2 children." And the kid says, "Yeah, but did you ever have physical relationship without a condom?" Whole class cracked up apparently. I have told this before, but it fits. I was teaching English at a university in Japan and I assigned the students the task of translating a Japanese folktale into English and presenting it orally to the class. One young lady chose Momotaro. It's the story of a baby boy that is found when an elderly couple sees a massive peach floating down a river. They retrieve it, cut it open, and find the baby. He then grows up to fight monsters. Momotaro is usually translated as Peach Boy, but this young lady chose to translate it as the boy who came in my peach. She kept saying it over and over. I nearly died trying not to show any reaction. A little girl, kindergarten, drew a picture of herself then colored the whole page red. When asked why she colored everything in red, the kid said, "That's what I'm going to look like when I blow myself up." Our unexpected jihad. I'm a teacher who also works at our after school program, so I have kids from across several grades. One of my 3rd grade boys was arguing with another boy when he shouts, "Oh yeah, you can just put your dong in my butt." He was clearly serious and seemed to be under the impression that it was like a frick you type insult. The other boy fell into stunned silence, and some of the 5th grade boys who'd heard started snickering, but were kind enough to tell him, "Dude, don't say that ever again." I'm using this now. I had a kid in my music history class say Queen Dido instead of Queen Dido for the whole first act of the play we were reading in class. Funniest crap ever. This reminds me of a student production of The Seagull I was in. The final line of the play is "The truth is, he shot himself." Closing night, it came out as "The truth is, he shot himself." Curtains fall, everybody dies of laughter. My high school biology class was working on a project. I tend to chat with my class while they are working on things. A student asked, "Mister, are you married?" "Yes, for the last 8 years. Another student asks, "Are you a virgin?" Of course, the whole class breaks up laughing. I said, "I've been married for 8 years. What do you think?" A group of students in that class started calling me Papi Chulo. I had to look it up on Urban Dictionary and let them know it was inappropriate. Showed my students a picture of the Titanic on its end beside the Eiffel Tower to give an idea of scale. A student asked how they got the big boat to balance while they took the photo. The whole class cracked up and I gently explained things to her. A kid in my class called the ovary of a flower the clitoris. Not a teacher, but this is too cringy not to share. A girl in my freshman history class kept pronouncing Nigeria as Nigeria. She didn't mean to be offensive, but no one corrected her. I hope she figured it out. Good thing you weren't discussing Niger. A student called me mom recently. I'm a male with a giant beard. In her defense, it was one of those reflex things. I've gotten called dad more than once, and students are thoroughly embarrassed when they do it. Teacher, Dave, can you please write X and 9 on the whiteboard? Dave, how do you spell X? HexOFC, the H is silent. My uncle was a TAFE for a physics class at a big university. He said one of the girls in the class thought that the sun turned into the moon at night. Asked her, haven't you ever seen them at the same time, and she said she never noticed. A girl in my class asked our professor what happens with the sun when it goes into the ocean and how it ignites again. In my college biology class last fall, a fellow student asked if cobwebs were living creatures. Yes, and so are dust bunnies. On a recent test, when asked what the Holocaust was, a girl replied it was when the Germans dropped the atomic bomb on London, and this is a high school senior. Maybe she was from another universe. My brother told me a story about an embarrassing moment in one of his first science classes in secondary school. The teacher asked if anyone knew the two types of reproduction, the answer being gamegenesis and agamegenesis. My brother raised his hand and, with the innocent enthusiasm of an 11-year-old in his first days of senior school, answered, genitalia and fussy. According to my bro, the teacher was pretty speechless for a moment before quickly moving on. When I was in 3rd grade, we had an assembly about AIDS and HIV. The speaker asked if anyone knew where AIDS came from. One kid stood up and said, from your dong. I was teaching a differential calculus class last year and was talking about continuous extensions of functions with holes. I was asking my students, so this function has a hole at x equals 3. What should we fill this hole with? A female student of mine said something that sounded so inappropriate all I could say is, what? I thought she had suggested certain male bodily fluid. Turns out she was saying cement but pronounced it cement. Half my class lost it and it was really hard not to laugh for the rest of class. Cement, as discussed in Knuth's concrete mathematics. We were talking about a book in a freshman intro class in college when a girl chimes in. I have a question and it's not really about the book, but maybe you could help me out. Is it refrigerator or just frigerator? There was an audible groan. I reiterate that this was in college. It's frigerator when you first take something out and refrigerator when you put it back in. Not a teacher, but in one class during high school, a friend of mine said my printer ran out of white, as some excuse about turning in an assignment. With some of the printers I've used, this sound reasonable. Just before the end of the class on the day before winter break, I wished my students a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah or Blessed Kwanzaa. My German exchange student asked, Hanukkah? What is Hanukkah? I explained it was the Jewish holiday that falls in the winter. She said, oh, I've never heard of that. We don't have many Jews in Germany. She was a sweet girl, if a little airheaded sometimes. She wasn't making a joke. My dad's a teacher and he said a student once asked him what he did for a living. The day before my wedding, a student yelled, have a great wedding, Ms. Linguist. Wear a condom. Kids got sense. One girl in an English class a few years ago, 16-17 years old, didn't know the word crater or the existence of the Grand Canyon. That's a problem. I remember in high school one girl was giving a presentation on something and kept mentioning the Shiites but pronounced it shites for her whole 10-minute thing. This one kid was laughing his butt off the whole time while he kept asking her wait, oh. She had no idea and just kept saying with a straight face the Shiites. One girl did a presentation in Hittites and she went through while presentation, straight-faced calling it high titties. Everyone was losing it and she couldn't figure out why. A student raised his hand and asked to go to the bathroom during a lecture in Geology 101 with about 200 other students. To be fair, we have had to ask to go to the bathroom since we were about 4 or 5. It's probably so ingrained into his process in school that any deviation from that set standard is a surprise. I taught English in Japan for several years, working in a public elementary school. When I would teach body parts to my kids, one of the games I like to use is the monster game. I say a body part and a number, and the kids draw that many of that body part on their monsters. 5 arms means everybody makes sure their monster has 5 arms, and 3 heads means everybody's monsters will have 3 heads, etc. etc. In younger classes you do this without the number, but at higher levels, I like to start throwing in adjectives like 3 big purple eyes so that the kids have to be a bit more on their toes. I've even done this game with some of my special ed kids, which was particularly interesting. So this particular special ed class was largely kids with moderate emotional behavioral problems, but nothing major in the way of mental handicap, which means that as long as you proceed with caution, you can do pretty much anything that the other classes of their ages do. Most of these kids are 4th, 5th, and 6th graders as well, which means that you can't just stick to basic lessons like colors and numbers because they get bored, and bored equals out of control. So we're playing the monster game. I'm saying body parts and numbers and sometimes a big or a small in there to mix it up. Since this was the body parts lesson, one 5th grade girl decided to speak up. My mom said that she hates her new boyfriend because he's got a small dong. Unfortunately, this was said in Japanese, which means that everyone in the classroom heard it and understood, which meant that the entire class, especially the 5th and 6th grade boys, erupted in laughter, and the rest of the lesson was underscored by the kids assuming that every body part I was about to say would be dong. The rest of the lesson was underscored by the kids assuming that every body part I was about to say would be penis. I'm glad immature humor is something that translates very well across cultures. My mother runs a small farm with chickens and roosters, among other animals. So, I was volunteering in my daughter's 1st grade class, and they were making words with the ox spelling pattern, like sock, rock, etc. A kid made the word dong, and the teacher said that it was another name for a rooster. My daughter suddenly yelled, "Oh oh oh oh, my grandmother has a dong." I teach sex ed, so I have a lot of stories. My favorite is still when a girl raised her hand, having elected not to put a card in the anonymous question bucket, to ask can you get hemorrhoids from anal. Thankfully there wasn't immediate deafening laughter because most of them didn't know what hemorrhoids are. Teaching 10-12-year-olds is a goldmine of cringy comments I can't pick. I don't think anyone here has a wet dream yet. Do you asked by a 5th grader the day after they watched the human growth and development video, when a boy bumped into a desk and hit a sensitive spot. Oh crap, my balls. Oh, no, I said crap. Crumples go floor. Oh crap, my balls. Oh, I said it again. If I liked girls, I'd like you. I mean, not that I don't like girls. Well, I don't. Not because I'm gay. Not that gay is bad. But I'm not gay. But I don't like girls. I think because I haven't gotten to puberty yet. Made even better by the long pause between each sentence and the confusion on the poor girl's face. I think that poor little boy gets a pass on swearing. In an 8th grade algebra class, I don't even need to know this stuff. I'm going to be an astronaut. The teacher responded by looking the student right in the eyes and saying, "That's literally the most ignorant thing I've ever heard." Had a kid think Washington DC stood for the capital. I taught English in China for a summer. We were doing a unit on working from home, and I asked my students what types of people worked from home. One guy speaks up. First answer, Hicks. Nope, not sure what he means there. Second answer, black people. Getting worse. Third answer, criminals. I'm dying of embarrassment at this point, and my students have no idea why. Finally I figure it out. He was talking about hackers. Something that might not be immediately obvious, the Chinese word for hackers sounds similar to the English one, hacker. It's borrowed from English. It just so happens that the two characters used mean black and guess customer. I have called several teachers mom on more than 50 occasions through IDK. Did that to my boss yesterday. I want to die. I am having puberty. May I go to the nurse? I remember in biology class in high school a kid once asked if trees could be retarded. My high school seniors were having trouble analyzing the Reading Macbeth, and one of them called out, "We don't read this stuff, we're black." Still hurts. Maybe you should have done Othello instead. Not a teacher, but once in 7th grade I raised my hand in a library full of people, all being quiet of course, and shouted to my teacher across the room, "What is incest?" She choked on her gasp a little, then came over and politely, and quietly, gave me an age-appropriate explanation. A friend of mine had to send a boy home from her kindergarten class for saying "frick the police." Kindergarten. Hey Savulan the Great, what does TWAT mean 9th grader? My group of friends once had a soccer game with a bunch of teachers. It was a cold rainy Tuesday night 10 miles north of Stoke. My group of friends did what we usually do post pay, get changed as quickly as possible, avoiding removing the underwear with the intention of showering once we get home. Our teachers did what they usually do post pay, get completely butt naked, and use the school shower. Having been able to close my eyes before seeing a multitude of teacher dong, I was lucky enough to see nothing. I did however jokingly give one of my teachers the nickname Big John Doe, and it kind of stuck. 3 months later a friend who wasn't part of the match asked for an explanation of the Big John Doe nickname. I explained it as he got naked in front of me. I saw his dong. It's massive. Next lesson, the above friend and I have Big John Doe as our teacher. That friend decides to ask him, so KW13 calls you Big John Doe because he saw your dong and it's massive. Care to comment? I don't know if it's the most awkward cringe-worthy thing for him, but it was for me. That kid wanted to frick with you. There's a girl on my marine science class who gave a presentation on a fish and said they don't live in fresh water. Later on, while discussing their diet, she said they eat algae and shows a picture of it. She then goes on to say, see, this is why I don't think they live in fresh water, because that looks dirty. She was a senior. I asked one of my preschoolers what was for lunch one day during circle time. She told me chopped liver and Jack Daniels. Another time I told a little boy he did a great job using counters to add. He looked me square in the face and said, yeah B, I'm the fricking man. He was 5. Oh, one more. I asked a 5-year-old what rhymes with store. He yelled on the top of his lungs W in the middle of the playground. When I have a kid and they start asking me what's for lunch, I'm just going to start saying chopped liver and Jack Daniels. That's hilarious. I'm a daycare teacher. A child who comes to our daycare after school. He's 7. Planned his wedding during school. He told me all about it and looked at me saying, you're gonna say yes, right? I put nuggets on the menu for you. You have been visited by the ingenious Joe. Comment brain so you always see the glass half full. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.